In our headlines on this Thursday afternoon, March 30th. South Korea has offered a tangible sum to better support democratic projects in the Indo-Pacific, amounting to some $100 million over the next 3 years. Meanwhile, Russia says it's halting its sharing of nuclear-related information with the US amid a similar decision by Washington earlier this week in response to Moscow's prior suspension of a treaty that limits nuke deployment. And Korea's LG is dedicated to developing an AI chatbot for scientists to assist them in their fields of research, including chemistry and engineering, by accessing decades of accumulated data. President Yoon Yeol has pledged to earmark some $100 million during his term in office to support democratic development projects in the Indo-Pacific region. Our senior top office correspondent Oh Soo-young reports.
South Korea will champion freedom, human rights and the rule of law in the Indo-Pacific region, supporting democratic development projects worth some $100 million over the next 3 years. That's according to President Yoon Yeol on Thursday, as he addressed ministers of Indo-Pacific countries at a hybrid regional meeting of the Second Summit for Democracy, co-hosted by South Korea, the US, Costa Rica, the Netherlands and Zambia. At the meeting organised by Seoul, Yoon highlighted the need to fight corruption and disinformation, defining them as forces that threaten democratic processes like decision-making and hinder the freedom of citizens. He called for the need to strengthen democratic norms and institutions in order to defend freedom and human rights on both domestic and international levels. Yoon noted that South Korea has improved anti-corruption laws and established a digital criminal justice system. On a global scale, the president said Seoul's shared vision for democracy and prosperity is a way of repaying the global community for helping South Korea foster liberal democracy and prosperity over the past decades, from the ashes of the 1950 to 53 Korean War.
지원을 필요로 하는 인도 태평양 지역 국가에게 전자정부, 디지털, 기술 역량 강화, 투명성, 반부패 등 민주주의 증진에 기여할 수 있는 분야에서 향후 3년간 1억 불 규모의 개발 협력 사업을 추진하겠습니다.
Furthering such efforts, Seoul will host the third Summit for Democracy, according to a joint statement by Presidents Yoon and Biden on Wednesday. The two leaders called South Korea's democratic institutions a beacon of strength in the Indo-Pacific and said that citizens have an enduring commitment to government transparency, effective checks and balances, and laws that are responsive to public needs. First launched in 2021 by President Biden, the Summit for Democracy aims to reinforce freedom, civil and political rights in democratic societies amid the rise of authoritarianism. Beijing and Moscow's foreign ministries have criticized the latest virtual event, accusing Washington of fueling ideological divisions by framing them as autocratic powers. Oh Soo-young, Arirang News.
On the national defense front, South Korea and the US are staging their largest amphibious assault training in 5 years, and our defense correspondent Kim Hyun-sung was on site.
Amphibious ships swarm in from sea. Jets streak across the sky, and Marines charge full speed on land. Some 500 South Korean American Marine forces have taken over Hwajin Beach in the southern city of Pohang for the Ssangyong drill, the largest combined amphibious landing drill in 5 years. And it's the day of decisive action, the centerpiece of this 15-day-long drill.
The Allies are running through a realistic simulation of an amphibious raid, working together like clockwork and presenting themselves as a formidable foe. And that you see behind me is a landing craft air cushion, a device used by the U.S. Navy to transport weapons, and just one of the many craft that's been deployed for this exercise.
The Ssangyong drill has stayed dormant since 2018 to keep alive diplomatic relations with North Korea and to fend off COVID-19. However, this year, the exercise has resumed on a large scale. Around 30 vessels, 70 aircraft, and 50 assault vehicles were mobilized for the drill. Korean and American weaponry provided mutual support, like the Allies' amphibious assault ships, the Korean Dokdo, and the American Makin Island.
I cannot think of another or more fitting way to celebrate the 70th anniversary of the alliance between the Republic of Korea and the United States of America than conducting bilateral amphibious operations with our ROK Navy and Marine counterparts.
The Ssangyong drill will continue until April 3rd, with upcoming exercises focused on land drills. Kim Hyun-sung, Arirang News, Pohang.
In other news, President Yoon Yeol has named current South Korean ambassador to the U.S. Tae-yong as his new national security advisor. The announcement on Wednesday follows the resignation of Kim Sang-han with less than a month to President Yoon's state visit to the U.S. The newly named advisor, Tae-yong, is a career diplomat who also served as a lawmaker for the ruling People Power Party prior to his appointment as Seoul's top diplomat to the U.S. last June. He also previously served as the first deputy director of the Office of National Security, as well as the first vice foreign minister under the former Park Geun-hye administration. Seoul is poised to share with its public disturbing details of Pyongyang's appalling abuses of human rights for the very first time. The 400-page report, based on interviews with North Korean defectors, was disclosed to members of the media on this Thursday. Among the more alarming atrocities are reports of execution of people caught breaking quarantine regulations or indulging in South Korean entertainment content. What's more, people in North Korea are deprived of the right to relocate and even to travel. The freedom of expression, as well as that of religion, are also absent. The report will be open to the South Korean public from tomorrow, that is Friday. Sweden has vowed to do its part to ease tensions on the Korean Peninsula should the opportunity arise. Now, this is according to its ambassador to South Korea during recent talks with our foreign affairs correspondent, Tae-yong. Do take a listen.
Sweden has been a consistent contributor to maintaining security on the Korean Peninsula, with its unique abilities and knowledge about the region. During the Korean War, it supported South Korea by setting up field hospitals. Right now, it's a member of the NNSC, or the Neutral Nation Supervisory Commission in Panmunjom. It has its soldiers there to monitor whether the armistice is being implemented in the right way. At the same time, Sweden has exceptionally close relations with North Korea, as Stockholm has had diplomatic ties with Pyongyang since the early 1970s. While showing concerns about the recent security situation regarding North Korea, the Swedish ambassador to South Korea told Arirang News that Sweden will continue to work toward having North Korea return to talks.
So we will do everything that we can in order to offer confidence-building measures and also steps towards dialogue when that is possible. Of course, the situation right now, including the latest ICBM launch by North Korea, is very, very worrying, and we condemn that.
He also added that it's incredibly important for the North to immediately take steps to dismantle its nuclear and ballistic missile programs. As for the Swedish diplomats that had to leave Pyongyang because of the regime's COVID-19 restrictions, he says Sweden is willing to return to Pyongyang quickly when it opens up again, to continue the diplomatic role that they would like to play on the peninsula. The ambassador also highlighted that South Korea and Sweden can cooperate in various fields other than security, including the private sector, such as battery production for electric vehicles and K-pop.
I think when it comes to Sweden and South Korea, we are like-minded countries, we are democracies, we believe in open trade, we have confidence in each other, and that's what makes this type of collaboration so important.
On Sweden's NATO membership ratification, noting that Sweden plays an important role when it comes to security around the Baltic Sea, he stressed that Stockholm has a lot to offer to NATO in areas such as cybersecurity.
We, of course, have much to offer to NATO as well, so Sweden will be more secure within NATO, and NATO will be stronger with Sweden as a member.
He also said he's very optimistic and confident that Sweden will become a full member by the NATO summit scheduled for July. Taeyoung, Arirang News.
Staying on the diplomatic front, Russia says it's halting its sharing of information about its strategic nuclear stockpile with the U.S., following a similar decision by Washington earlier this week in response to Moscow's suspension of a treaty that limits the deployment of atomic warheads last month. Our Lee Seung-jae has the latest.
First was Russia pulling back from the New START treaty. Now, Moscow has announced it will end the sharing of information on its nuclear forces with the United States. According to Russian Deputy Foreign Minister Sergei Ryabkov, Moscow has stopped information exchanges with Washington, including notices on planned test launches of its ballistic missiles. He stressed that any notification and all activity under the New START treaty will be suspended and will not be conducted regardless of what position the U.S. may take. The U.S. had already said Monday that it would halt the sharing of information on its nuclear forces following a decision by Russia to pull back from the New START nuclear pact last month. The latest from the Kremlin is all the more concerning as Russian President Vladimir Putin announced earlier this month that it will be moving tactical nuclear weapons into Belarus, raising fears that it may use such weapons against Ukraine. Meanwhile, Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky on Wednesday invited Chinese President Xi Jinping to Ukraine for talks, marking what would be the first communication between the two leaders since the outbreak of the war. During an interview with the Associated Press, Zelensky said he is ready to talk to Xi and expressed his willingness for the meeting to take place. The comments come as Zelensky had recently shown his openness to Chinese-led peace talks using Beijing's 12-point peace plan as a backdrop. Xi had previously said that he plans to speak with Zelensky following his summit with Putin earlier this month. However, that has yet to happen, with seemingly no end to the war in Ukraine in sight. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
Korea's LG is dedicated to developing an AI chatbot simply for scientists to better assist them in their research efforts. Our Kim Jong-sil had the pleasure of sitting down with the developer in charge.
An AI for experts. That's what LG AI Research is aiming for with its large-scale language AI model, EXAONE. Unlike OpenAI's ChatGPT, EXAONE aims to help experts in scientific fields such as chemistry and medicine. With its AI, LG hopes to take advantage of its decades of expertise and accumulated data in chemistry and engineering.
EXAONE can learn 100 years of chemical knowledge in a matter of minutes and can even predict new material candidates, so the process of developing new materials and new drugs can be drastically improved.
Choi added that EXAONE focuses on giving credible results to the user. We asked him how.
There are a lot of documents on the internet that cannot be trusted. That's why LG's EXAONE learns from professional papers and documents that have been acknowledged to be trustworthy. LG's AI can also suggest various ideas to the top 1% of the experts so that they can come up with new ideas.
We also asked him why it's important for LG, a South Korean company, to make this type of AI themselves instead of relying on AIs made by other countries.
In the case of LG, some of our important data isn't supposed to leave the country. And by developing AI ourselves, LG hopes to strengthen business competitiveness for some of our subsidiaries. We think our large-scale language AI will contribute to the business in the future. That is why many companies, not just ones in South Korea, are actively taking part in investment and development of their own AIs.
Choi added that securing talented individuals is the key to success not just for LG, but for companies everywhere, and stressed that LG is looking for talented individuals around the world. Kim Jong-sil, Arirang News.
Also on the local front, business sentiment rebounded this March after months of decline amid a global slowdown. According to the Bank of Korea on this Thursday, the business survey index in March across all industries rose to 72 points, marking the first rebound in 7 months. The index among manufacturing firms also saw its first rise in 4 months, jumping by 7 points to 70. The rebound in sentiment is being linked to continued investment in manufacturing facilities by companies, despite the slumping chip sector amid prospects for an improvement in the second half of the year. Now, a while back, we covered a local campaign by college campuses to provide their students with breakfasts that cost 1,000 won or some 77 US cents. Well, given the public praise for and popularity of the project, efforts are now underway to further expand it. Our Ian Jin has details.
University students go to school early to eat breakfast. Rice, stew, kimchi, and some side dishes, all for just 1,000 won. That's less than $1 US. This 1,001 breakfast project has become increasingly popular amidst rising consumer prices. The students pay 1,001. The Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs pays another 1,001, and the university covers the remaining costs.
The goal of getting there in time to eat the 1,000 won breakfast has helped me develop a better lifestyle. Honestly, it's the best project I've seen at university.
This project was first launched back in 2017 with the goal of increasing domestic consumption of rice to help the agricultural sector. But it is now in the spotlight as students have started benefiting from the affordable meal amidst times of economic hardship as consumer prices continue to rise. A survey showed roughly 53% of people that skip breakfast to be in their 20s. Demand from universities across the country to participate in this project has jumped. Accordingly, the government has decided to expand the project twofold from what was originally planned. The budget for the project has been increased to $1.2 million from $600,000, and personnel to support the project has been expanded from 690,000 people to 1.5 million. Under the new plan, roughly 90 universities are expected to partake this year. Yeon, Arirang News.
Right, and on the entertainment front, Korea's OTT service TVING's original series Bargain has been nominated for Best Series at the 6th Cannes International Series Festival. Bargain is up for awards in 5 categories, including Best Screenplay, Best Performance and Best Music. According to TVING, this is the first time a Korean OTT show has been nominated in the competition's official selection. Bargain is a thriller about 3 strangers who gather at a remote building for a precarious bargaining when an earthquake traps them inside. The festival itself runs from April 14th to the 19th. Right, spring is in the air, as many say, and quite a number of places here in capital Seoul are perfect to indulge in the season's abundant offerings. Our Shin Se-baek shows us where they are.
As spring arrives, royal palaces are awash with colorful blossoms. Visitors to Changdeokgung Palace, one of the 5 major palaces from the Joseon dynasty, get to enjoy this lively season.
It's been really amazing so far, being able to come see the castle, especially the cherry blossoms at the backdrop of, all the kind of historical architecture. It's just a very calming place to be.
It's very nice. Everyone in the traditional clothing as well, so it's very pretty sights. All the flowers, all the older buildings as well. It's very cool to see.
This time of the year, special guided tours are also available.
The seasonal tour offers visitors a chance to explore the Nakseonje Hall, a Korea's traditional structure that is known for beautiful architecture and stunning gardens. What's more, those who signed up for this exclusive tour can enjoy the sacred garden.
Standing next to the pavilion towering over the garden hill, tourists get to capture a beautiful view of the spring landscape in one glance. The tree, standing alone in the field, evokes a sense of tranquility. The famous apricot tree in the neighboring Deoksugung Palace also signals a season of new beginnings. Tourists can travel back to the Joseon dynasty during the 90-minute guided tour. A rare glimpse into the interior halls and backyards is a charm.
Someone put me onto this special tour of Deoksugung Palace in Seoul, and I managed to snag a ticket despite it being in high demand. It was a sweet experience, being able to check out the palace's interior in more detail, including some paintings and artifacts that are usually off-limits to the public.
Tourists can enjoy spring scenery in the royal palaces until the first week of April. After that, the Gyeongbokgung Palace nighttime viewing tour will present beautiful whipping cherry blossoms and azaleas that brighten Seoul's night sky. Shin Se-baek, Arirang News.
Let's take a look at what's going on in the world now. Starting with the United Nations, as the international body has passed a landmark resolution that calls for the world's top court to weigh in on climate obligations. Passed on Wednesday by the UN General Assembly at its New York headquarters, the resolution calls on the International Court of Justice to give an advisory opinion on obligations that countries have to address the climate crisis and legal consequences if they fail to meet these. According to UN Chief Antonio Guterres, such advisory opinions can have a major impact on international legal order, but they are not legally binding. Co-sponsored by over 120 countries and 4 years in the making, the passage marks a major win for the Pacific island state of Vanuatu. It was one of the first to lead the initiative, as it has been disproportionately affected by climate change, with adverse weather events. Now, tech billionaire Elon Musk and Apple co-founder Steve Wozniak are among 1,100 industry leaders who have signed an open letter that calls for a 6-month halt to the training of artificial intelligence. This over fears that AI may pose a threat to humanity and that the race to develop it is getting out of control. It outlined that powerful AI systems should only be developed after establishing that the effects will be positive and risks manageable. The letter was published by non-profit organization the Future of Life Institute, which is dedicated to reducing existential risk from advanced AI. The call comes amid growing competition between various AI developers, which has seen the release of ever more advanced systems, such as ChatGPT-4. Shifting our attention to Pope Francis now, as the head of the Catholic Church has been hospitalized for a respiratory infection. According to the Vatican, on Wednesday, the Pope will be treated for the next few days, and his schedule has been cleared to accommodate his treatment. The news comes as the 86-year-old pontiff has faced a number of health issues recently. He has often been seen using a walking stick or a wheelchair due to knee pain, which also caused him to delay scheduled trips to the Democratic Republic of Congo and South Sudan last year. The Pope revealed in December that he has already signed his resignation letter to be used if he's unable to fulfill his duties due to health issues. And finally, international football governing body FIFA has stripped Indonesia of its right to host this year's Under-20 Football World Cup. According to FIFA on Wednesday, the decision was made after Indonesia's Football Association, the PSSI, cancelled Sunday's tournament draw because the governor of the island of Bali refused to host the Israeli team. Indonesia is a majority Muslim country with no formal relations with Israel and publicly supports Palestine. The tournament is set to begin May 20th until June 11th, and FIFA says that the dates will remain unchanged for now. FIFA says it will find a new host as soon as possible, while it's also considering sanctions against the PSSI. Matthew Ashley, Arirang News.
Good afternoon. It's warmer today with highs climbing into the 20s in most parts of the country, going up as high as 10 degrees Celsius, more than what we normally see around this time. But we'll also have to deal with the dust that has covered much of Korea. The further west you are, the higher the level of dust you have today. Sunny skies have been replaced by the dusty skies again. A dry air advisory also remains in place in most of the central inland regions and parts of south. East of Gangwon-do province, however, is quite windy, blowing at 15 meters per second, so please take precautions against wildfire and drink plenty of water to stay hydrated. So it feels more like early May than late March today. Not much to complain about temperature-wise, but if your area is hit hard by the dust, avoid spending too much time outside, which is very unfortunate as the nation is coloring into stunning spring blossoms. Dry spells continue with wide gaps in ratings, with much awaited nationwide rain in the forecast early next week. That's Korea for you, and here's a look at the international weather conditions.
That ends Thursday's afternoon newscast. As always, we have our panel session coming up right after this break, so do stay with us.